Hey guys, it is Mike from Baltimore Rides here, wrapping up my Saturday night, Saturday the 18th. It's just after midnight, it's about 12:45, and I am calling it quits, not because of any not because of any really horrible reason, but mainly because I'm all the way out in Manassas, Winchester. It's a messed up story how that happened, but I was driving around DC at some point, and then I got a ride from DC to Virginia, and then I got a ride from Virginia to further out Virginia, and then I got a ride from further out Virginia all the way out here to Winchester. And it just happened. It was like the leapfrog that you usually, and I've had some good leapfrogs that have brought me into the city, but this one was a leapfrog in the exact opposite direction. So it's pouring rain. I'm in Manassas, which is about an hour from DC, an hour and a half from where I live. That's what Waze is telling me anyway. And, it's 1 o'clock basically. So I can get to DC at 2 a.m. to get a couple drunk people and then drive the hour and a half home. Or I can just drive the hour and a half home in the rain now and, be awake and sober and not, not sober, but I mean like coherent, and alert. And that's my preference, is to not be driving home in the rain an hour and a half sleepy. That's never a good thing. And when my eyes start getting tired and I'm kind of in that like a groggy mindset, that's a dangerous ride home for me, because highway driving is very boring. It's not engaging like city driving, where you've got customers in the car, you're listening to their conversation, you're paying attention to the turns and all that kind of good stuff. Highway driving where you're just going straight, it's mind numbing. So I'd rather do that now while my head is sharp and just make a beeline for home. I've got the numbers that I needed. I did 22 trips with Uber for $200 and $5 or something like that, $203, whatever. So, and I did another $18 with Lyft. So, Lyft covered my gas for the day, basically. One trip, which was nice, just a long one. And Uber, I made my numbers. So, I've got 50 trips in for my Quest, 15 more to go tomorrow, which is very decent. The weekend was pretty busy. The rain, obviously out here in the middle of nowhere, is awful, but really in the city it was just sprinkling off and on. It was not bad weather at all. So, hopefully this rain stays out here in the middle of nowhere and does not come to the city. Because that would really ruin tomorrow. So, I am going to get that Quest goal. I don't care. I'm going to get that Quest goal, because that $170 is a significant addition to my income. So that's that, guys. But really good day, a lot of short trips, and then all of a sudden towards the last 2 hours, long trip, long trip, long trip, long trip. Like 3 or 4. Medium to long trips in a row that just kind of leapfrogged me out here into the middle of nowhere. And I was, the guy I gave a ride to, I wouldn't have refused this guy anyway. I mean, we started off on a bumpy note. He was coming out of this house. He was, he's a little bit drunk, carrying an open Corona or whatever it was. And I lowered the window down before he even got off the front steps. And I'm like, hey, bud, you can't have any open alcohol in the car. And he's like, oh, really? And, he kind of disappointed, I guess. And he drank half of it and set it down on his buddy's front steps. I could tell, besides just me doing that, he was already kind of in a frustrated frame of mind. And he got on the phone and he started trying to make a couple calls and talk to some people. And he was trying to basically figure out what happened. And, he was speaking mostly in Spanish. I understand just enough Spanish listening to be able to eavesdrop, not to be fluent. I can't speak it hardly at all. I get tongue-tied when I try and speak it. But if I am listening to somebody that's passively talking to someone else, I can hear enough words that I can get the gist of things. And the gist was he was at a party with his wife, and she walked out and left, and they didn't have an argument. She just left, and he was kind of like upset. So he got off the phone with this friend of his that he was kind of venting to for a few minutes, and I could tell that kind of lowered his pressure a little bit. And I said to him, I said, man, you're having a rough night. I said, and I was joking. I said, first I give you grief about a beer, and now you're having trouble with your girl. And he goes, I said, what happened? And he tells me the whole story and tells me about how he was in the Marines, and he's on, he's got PTSD, and he's discharged, and he's on disability, and, this is his third wife, and, just kind of tells me his whole life. He just opened up. And, really nice guy, my age, went to Iraq at 19 years old and enlisted, and did 3 tours overseas in combat as a Marine, and, discharged with some war injuries from shrapnel and stuff like that. And just a good guy. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, he's really, really a nice guy. Jesus, I was in college at 19, a snot-nosed college kid, trying to chase girls and be an artist. And this guy's, out there, fighting to keep us free. And it's, it was rough. Like, I felt so bad for this guy because, he's trying to be a good guy. He's, he basically drove all the way out to Winchester to basically sleep at a buddy's house, because a couple of his Marine buddies, because he didn't want to go back home to his girl, because obviously she was pissed at him. And she was pissed at him because the party they were at, one of his exes showed up, just a girlfriend, not even like an ex-wife, but an ex-girlfriend showed up at the party, and he didn't say anything to her. They didn't interact at all, but I guess the wife got jealous, and that's what happens. So, and he's trying to be the honorable guy and be like, you know what, I'm not going to go home, because then it'll be an argument, because I'm drunk, and I'm just going to go and crash at a buddy's house and sleep it off, and then in the morning we'll figure out what happened. But which is, to me, very honorable. Sometimes that's what you got to do, is just wait till everybody's cooler heads prevail, kind of. But so I wouldn't have said no to this guy. I'm glad I didn't. It was a pool. His 2-minute countdown was almost up. He came out with a beer, and I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be one of those. But I'm so glad at this point. And that's sometimes how these rides go, is you don't always know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates, is what Forrest Gump says. But, I'm glad, because this was a really great guy, and I got to kind of talk with him and let him, vent a little bit. I hope to God he doesn't go to his buddy's house and get even more wasted, because that's what I'm afraid he's going to do. And he's a good guy, and I don't want to see that happen to him. And that's sometimes how we become, in addition to driving people where we're driving them. Hold on a second, I'm following the directions this stupid thing is telling me to turn, and I don't know where the hell I am. But in addition to becoming drivers, we become therapists, and we become like, we let people vent, we let people express their frustrations, they get stuff off their mind. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not so funny, it just really all depends. But in this particular case, this guy, it helped this guy a little bit, because he was kind of laughing by the time he got out of the car. And that's the main thing, is that he was able to kind of blow off some steam, cool off a little bit. It was a 30-40 minute ride. Definitely took some of the the pressure off of him. By the time he gets to his buddy's house, hopefully he won't be so pissed off. And maybe that's my good deed for the day. I don't know. So that's that, and that's kind of how this goes, guys. Like, sometimes the nights are quiet, sometimes you don't talk, you just listen to music on your earbuds and drive people around. And sometimes you get to have those conversations that are really great. I talked to a lady earlier tonight, and she was from another country, and she came here young, and like at 19, and basically, built a career out of nothing just because she was hardworking. And we were talking about millennials and kind of the challenges they face in the workplace, because of their beliefs and their views, and as a manager, how she copes with them and how she works through them and with them to try and, help them, enter the workforce. And it was just a wonderful conversation. My old days as a manager came out, and I could very much relate to somebody that's trying to be a mentor, trying to have leadership qualities and take people under her wing. And, that was very much something that I enjoyed doing, and, I tried to connect with. So you get those conversations where you just, you really enjoy the conversation, and you really feel like you leave a friend when they get out of the car, and that's wonderful. And then there's people you just drive them around. And I had somebody give me a bad rating the other day, and I know who it is. It was this lady that asked me about tipping, because I have the headrest sign that says, tips are not necessary but appreciated, or something like that. And and she said to me, what does it mean with this tipping thing? And I said, well, this is a service industry, so I do make money off of your fare, but it's really not enough for me to make a good living. Tipping is the difference. How well I'm tipped throughout my night can make all the difference in the world. Just like a waitress or a waiter or a bartender, or any of the other careers out there where you tip people. And she goes, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to tip my Uber driver. And I'm like, well, you're not supposed to, but it's definitely appreciated. And I said, think about it this way. You go to a restaurant and you leave a 15 to 20% tip for your waitress, and all she did was carry your salad out and put it in front of you and refill your iced tea. My job is to drive you from point A to point B, keep you alive, and hopefully have an enjoyable conversation, a pleasant experience at least, a clean car, safety. So I have your life in my hands. She just has your salad in her hands. And who do you want to tip more now? And she goes, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And I said, well, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm not trying to make you feel like it's obligatory, but, just think about how us Uber drivers, we're the ones driving, stressing out in traffic and rush hour, weaving in and out of cars, doing our best to get there in a timely manner and keep you safe. And I think that it rubbed her wrong that I had a firm stance. I wasn't rude, I wasn't pressuring, but I was very honest about it. I said, this is not an easy conversation, but I appreciate us having it. And I appreciate you asking. Because a lot of millennials and young people don't tip. College students, millennials, call them what you will, they just don't tip. They're not very good at it. I don't think they understand that it's important. And, that's not a conversation you can have easily. And the first couple times you have it, it's going to sound awkward. You're going to sound like an idiot. But, be confident in your understanding of what tipping means for you, what tipping means for the industry, and how it relates. And it's a really good analogy to use that, a waitress or a waiter, you're going to give them 15 to 20% of your tab as a tip, and they just brought your salad out and put it in front of you and refilled your iced tea when it got low. That's it. It's not to denigrate those people that are, working in the food service industry. It's an amazing job that they do, and it's very hard, but it's not life or death stuff. And we obviously want them to make a good living too, and so we do tip them. But think about the things that, a driver does. The passengers' lives are in our hands. Their safety is our number one concern. So, that's my only thoughts about that, guys. Where I am for the week, I have no clue. I haven't even looked, because that last fare is still finalizing. Somewhere in the 800s, which is fine. If I can hit 1,000 this week with the Quest added in, that would be beautiful. That's really plenty, and that's where we stand. I'm going to sign off, guys, because I have no idea where the hell I am. I'm somewhere near Frederick, and I'm trying to get home, and it's dark and raining, and I just don't recognize these roads. So wish me luck getting home, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.